This episode is titled Boring. Yeah, you heard right. I don't have any guests with me. It's just me and you. And yes, some might say it's going to be a bit boring. But before you try to either put me on double speed or move along to see if I actually say anything during this episode which is interesting, or go and watch something else, just bear with me. Because I believe that in this episode, you're going to learn things that is going to fundamentally change your life. And I want to start off with a challenge. It's called the boredom challenge. So during the next, let's say 20 minutes, I don't know how long this episode is going to be. But during the next 20 minutes, I want you to be aware and be curious about yourself. Perhaps you're already feeling that, forget this episode, I'm just going to switch it off. Maybe you're already feeling a bit uncomfortable. Maybe you're feeling a bit irritated, but pay attention to that, because this is going to show you how comfortable, how much, a psychologist will say, how much tolerance do you have for boredom? And the world that we live, increasingly we have very little tolerance of boredom. Why did I even get onto this, and why is that important? I'm going to tell you right now. The reason why I want to talk about this is because really my own response to the In Between the Lines producer telling me that we're getting thousands of views from different platforms of the podcast, which is great. And for me as the host, thinking, wow, fantastic. You know, it beats doing a parent session and getting 50 people. But then she said, and do you know how many people actually watch a whole episode? Very few. And you know why that is? Because they're getting a bit bored. And so straight away I started thinking, okay, well, we've got to liven it up. So maybe we've got to bring in some more exciting guests. Maybe we should have 2 guests in each episode. Maybe I need to be a bit more animated, maybe a few Red Bulls beforehand. And then I'm thinking, well, there's someone I know that's on their 5th marriage, and maybe that's going to be really exciting. And I kind of end up almost sort of creating our next episode basically being a Jerry Springer show, which if you're above 30, you'll probably know what I mean. But that's not what In Between the Lines is all about. And ultimately, we can't compete with the boredom that often people are going to feel. Why is it important that we cope with boredom? It's a really good question, let me tell you. So I think first off, there's many, many young people that reach out to the JT support line with all sorts of problems. We're going to see a lot of addictions, young people struggling with alcohol, drugs. Increasingly, it's all the more destructive behavior. So it might be pornography and that type of thing. And when you ask them, you know, what was happening before you acted out? What was happening before you went and drank? You know what the answer is often? It's not I was feeling depressed. It's not that I was feeling anxious. I was feeling bored. And we've become a society that can't cope with boredom, can't cope with slow-paced life. And so we become desperate. We look for relief and the dangers that causes. I think, why have we become like that? Well, I think it's pretty obvious. We live in a world which is instant, which is so fast, where we get dopamine hits every time we get a message, every time we get a like on social media. And we just become conditioned to leading really, really fast, busy, action-packed, dopamine-filled lives. Dopamine is the hormone that we get that makes us feel good. And because we become like that, as soon as anything becomes a bit slower and a bit calmer, you know, we find it really difficult to cope with. Who cares? Well, we see so many sort of consequences to that. And as a parent, listen to this, because parents panic. You know, children say, oh, I'm bored. And parents scramble around and say, oh, you could do this, you could do that. Are we doing children a favor by not allowing them to manage with boredom, to not manage with something just being a bit calm, not stimulating, not exciting? Why do we struggle to go to sleep on time? Why are we living in a world which is more sleep deprived than ever? And remember, no sleep and all the ramifications, a lot of the mood problems, a lot of the disorders, all a consequence of the fact that we're not able to put ourselves to sleep at normal time. Do you know why? Largely because going to sleep it's boring. I mean, I could stay awake, I could watch something, I could speak to someone, I could do something, versus stopping everything and just lying in bed. And I can't be bothered turning off my phone, and I just don't want to have to go into bed, so I don't. And so many parts of life are being destroyed because we just can't sit here and just have a conversation in the way that we are right now. One of the head of Netflix, I think is the co-founder, called Reed Hastings. He recently told his employees that the greatest competition for Netflix are relationships and sleep. And you know what? Netflix are winning. So if people have a choice between should I watch something, or should I have a conversation with my wife, or should I have a difficult conversation with one of my children, or just spend some time with one of my teens, you know what? I'm just going to watch something. It's more exciting. It's more fun. And if I've got a choice between going to sleep or just binge watching, I'm just going to watch. How disgusting that ultimately Netflix sees relationships and the real things in life as their competition. And how shocking that what we are seeing is that Netflix is winning and relationships are losing. And why are relationships losing? It's back to the boredom problem. You see, if I've got a choice between something exciting and having a difficult conversation, I'm going to choose something exciting because I find it difficult and uncomfortable and frustrating to deal with something which is a bit boring or slower paced. And we always see this, this contradiction and this struggle between pleasure and instant reward. Look at all the things meaningful in life. They're all slow rewards. For example, if it comes to learning something, maybe it's learning a musical instrument. Is it going to be fun and exciting at the beginning? No. The rewards come later. If it comes to learning something, let's say it's Torah, is it going to be easy and fun? No. Will it be meaningful and fulfilling? Yes, but that only comes later. If we condition ourselves and we condition our children to only be able to cope with something which is fun right now and enjoyable right now, what's the cost? Is it a surprise that we're seeing so many divorces? Relationships are hard. Relationships require time. We're not always going to see the reward. Sometimes we're not going to be able to be bothered. And so if we're conditioned that we can't cope with something which is unpleasant and we need instant gratification, so you know what? I'm just going to go onto social media. Forget that conversation. Forget going out on a date. Why are we surprised that so many people, especially young people, choose to stay at home rather than go and talk to their friends? You know why? Because it's instantly more fun just to go online, just to search, Google, watch something, than sit in front of a person and have a conversation. And what a tragedy that we're all losing out on the things that give real meaning and the things that give real fulfillment. As a therapist, I can't tell you how many times, especially recently, this is what I wanted to speak to you about today. I can't tell you how many people I see that come to me because they're feeling depressed. You know what the real reason why they're feeling depressed? It's because they don't have meaning and they don't have fulfillment. Why don't they have meaning and fulfillment? Because it's too hard, and I can't do hard, and I can't be bothered putting effort in. I never have really put in effort. My parents never helped me put effort in. And as parents, how many times do we bail out our children? They have homework, it's a bit boring, it's hard, okay, I'll help you, or you know what, just don't do it. And so we bring up our children never having to really learn how to do something that is just a bit difficult and a bit challenging, that I don't see the reward straight away. Everything has to be fun, and everything has to be something that I see immediate results. And if I don't do it. And so children grow up not having the ability to cope with frustration. And in the therapy room, that means that so many people are coming in feeling empty, feeling a lack of joy, meaning. And that's just because they've never actually been able to go through and work and persevere and overcome and cope with a bit of boredom and cope with difficulties, and then see that when they do that, that fulfillment, that feeling of real pleasure, that yes, I've done something. Boredom means often just being in a calm state. You know what? Listen to this. Boredom is the breathing space for the mind. It's when we start having our great ideas. I know myself, like sometimes I'll go riding my bike and I'll go into the countryside, and it's when I turn off the music, turn off the podcasts, and I'm just sort of letting my mind wander. And it's called, in psychology, we call it a flow state. When we allow our mind to be in flow, that's when we have our great ideas. That's when we imagine, that's when we create. If we're always having the noise of the world and we're always being stimulated and always being entertained, we never allow our mind to be able to just run, think about things. You know, I think J18 only came into being because I had that time where I was just being able to sort of think about what I want to do, what's important. And so many of our children and us today, we don't allow ourselves to just be able to get lost into something. You know, books. In the last 20 years, half the amount of people that used to read don't read anymore. Where's that going to end in another 10 years? Who's going to read? Why don't we like reading? Why don't we read anymore? And the truth is, as Jewish people, we're lucky because we still have Shabbos, and therefore we still have a window where we don't have social media and phones and screens, and perhaps we're less busy, and so therefore there is still a space for reading. But it's obvious why we don't read anymore. Because reading is that classic form where it's not going to be that exciting, and we're going to have to sort of just, you know, sometimes encourage ourselves, let's just start the book, and then we get lost in it, and it gives us much more joy than anything can really give us. How sad that our children are growing up in a world where reading is not going to be something, where working through a problem or a challenge is not something they're going to be familiar with. And what problems does that lead to? So I want you yourself, take a deep look at yourself. Where are you on that scale? Are you somebody who used to read and don't read? Are you somebody who is always trying to make yourself busy? Are you somebody that can cope doing nothing for a few minutes? Maybe it's not always about the work. Maybe it's just about being with yourself. We're always surrounded with things, machines, with people. It just makes us feel a bit strange, just being with nothing. We feel a bit helpless. maybe we don't like the real us, or we feel strange. If you want to do another challenge, then sit sometime in a restaurant by yourself. And yes, you'll feel I'm a loner, or it's a bit strange what other people think. But actually, it's one of the greatest signs of emotional health. I'm comfortable with myself. I don't need always something else. I don't need to take a phone out. It's allowed to just be calm and quiet. I don't need to keep running the whole time. How many young people don't have relationships with their parents because they never really feel their parents are there? Everyone's just running. We're always doing the next thing. We're never actually just sitting there. And then when parents see their children struggling, when children and parents see their children being rebellious and they start getting worried, then they say, oh, we must spend time with our teen. Well, you've never spent time with your child, so therefore it's too awkward, it's too uncomfortable. You've not conditioned them. Let's just sit here without rushing around and just enjoy our company. It's slow paced, but it's real. And so what I want to ask you is, where are you on this? Can you cope with just being with yourself? Can you cope? How are you feeling during this, this episode right now? Are you feeling a bit uncomfortable? Are you managing? Have you put me onto double speed? These will tell you a little bit about where you're up to and how much frustration you can cope with. How well do you cope with sometimes feeling a bit sad or having difficult feelings of maybe anxiety? Someone came to me the other day in my private practice and said, I feel like I need to go to my psychiatrist, or I need to go, I can't remember, it was the GP. Do I need medication? I've just been feeling a bit low recently. And I said to them, well, it's pretty obvious that you would be feeling low. You've just been made unemployed and you've got a few problems with your marriage right now. Why wouldn't you feel low? Why do you need to go medicate that? Part of dealing with those low feelings is just sitting with it. It's okay that I'm feeling like this. I don't need to escape. There's nothing wrong with me. If I'm feeling anxious about something, maybe it's to being in a social setting. Maybe I've got some big exams or some interview coming up. It's normal to feel anxious. I don't need to suddenly try and medicate myself. I don't need to suddenly try and do something to take away the anxiety. I can cope with feeling uncomfortable. It's okay if I'm not okay. And if we're avoiding certain tasks because they're hard, again, it's the same type of thing. I'm uncomfortable about doing hard things. Maybe we haven't done enough challenging things. Maybe you've sort of kept yourself, in your comfort zone. It could be that you've got some opportunities, you've got some ideas, and you don't believe you can do it. It's too hard. I'm going to fail. Don't listen to that voice. You can do it. It might be tricky at the beginning and you might not see the results straight away. But push. Stay with it. Feel a bit uncomfortable. Believe in yourself. And when it comes to our children, it's okay if they're bored. And it's okay if they don't have entertainment from morning till night. Allow them to be in that state. Don't bail them out. And if they've got some chores or some homework and the certain work that they need to do, let them do it. And so my message to you is, let yourself sometimes feel a bit bored. Don't get lost in the world out there of chaos. Find some peace. Allow yourself to be with yourself. Appreciate who you are. Don't keep looking at everything else and everyone and what they're doing and how wonderful they are because they're always traveling and they're always busy. And they've always got people around them. Because it's not real. And I know myself, it doesn't matter how many challenges people are going to have in life, and everyone is going to have certain challenges. And I see people coming to my office on a day-to-day basis. But I know if they've got the capacity and the ability to work hard, to graft, to overcome, doesn't matter what's in front of them, I know that they will be able to be successful. But if they don't have that ability, if they've never been able to go through something difficult, if they've always been rescued by their parents, or if they themselves always looked for easy ways out, for shortcuts, then even if they don't have the biggest challenges, but they don't have the resilience, they don't have the capability of dealing with it, it's going to cause them so much pain. So please let yourself do the 10-minute rule. And that is, if there's something like a book, if there's something like a challenge, if there's something like a task, say, I'm going to sit with it for 10 minutes before. Because remember, when we do something, it's not about feeling that we're in the mood. Let's do something even if we're not in the mood. We know that Chazal say, Halev nimshach achar ma'asim. The heart follows our actions. That means even if I'm not in the mood, if I'm not happy, if I'm a bit bored, I don't have to wait to do exercise till I'm in the mood. Otherwise, it's never going to happen. I do the exercise, I do the task because I know that that is going to make me feel better. And if you are able to do that, if you're able to do things, even though you don't really want to, but you know it's worthwhile, what a present you can give to yourself, and what an amazing present that you can give to your children. Because you know that the greatest challenge, it's not the finishing line, it's getting over the starting line. Once you get going, in psychology we say it starts off with resistance and that mind shouting, don't, and it's too hard and I can't. But if we answer that voice and say, you know what, I'm just going to try for 10 minutes, then we start off, we feel that friction. But very soon, we start feeling a bit of meaning. And then the rewards come and we feel great. And that is real happiness and that is real fulfillment. Thank you so much, everyone. If you've managed to get to this end of this episode and you've just stuck with it, no matter what your mind was screaming and what you were thinking, you coped, then you've already passed the first boredom test. If you really want to, go and listen or watch this episode again. But go and put it into practice in your day-to-day life. Slow things down. Enjoy the quiet, the calm, and let that mind surprise you with some fantastic creative ideas. Thank you so much.